Awesome, sweet. Well, welcome back to another episode of the Dad Club Japan podcast. I don't know where to look.
Mate, just look everywhere. Right here, right there, right there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. As usual, I'm Joel, and today I'm joined by Christian. How's it going, buddy?
Mate, I'm doing well, mate. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
It's good to be here. It's a nice setup that you got going on here, and I'm enjoying the space.
Sweet. Yeah, thanks. Our usual, my usual co-host Duncan is he's occupied today. He's getting ready for his move to the UK, but
Yes, I've heard.
yeah, but
Best of luck to him, mate. I haven't met you, mate, but best luck to you, champion.
But yeah, so holding it down over here in the studio, which we've got the new setup here, and I think it works out all right. You
Mate,
know?
I'm loving the new setup. I'm loving. Hey, let him know
Yeah.
what you think about the setup. Because I think it's a vibe, man. And,
Yeah,
I'll be honest, as I mentioned before, I'm a bit jealous.
yeah.
I'm a bit jealous, my
Well,
friend. Yeah.
yeah, as everything does, it requires work, but you know, it's
Yeah.
all good.
Little do you know, I'm moving in later. But,
Yeah. So a little background on our guest Christian today. I was scrolling through YouTube one day, a few weeks ago, maybe closer to a month ago, and it's like I see this video come up, and it's like, hey, Fukuoka. You know, maybe I was looking for something in Fukuoka. It's
yeah.
like, what? I've never seen this guy before, and so it's, you know, this video pops up, like, hey, legends, you know, I'm Christian. You know, he's got this sweet drone shot, you know, and I was
Sweeping
like,
drone.
what the hell? Where did this guy pop up from? I've never seen this guy before. I started checking out the videos, and oh shit, he's in Fukuoka. He actually lives here. What? And so I was like, okay, let me check out some more. And then I get it. Oddly enough, we get into the line group, you know, the line, and started looking through, and all of a sudden, this message comes up from Christian. It's like, what? Hold on, I just saw this guy on YouTube. Now
That's
he's
me,
in the
sir.
line group. It's
Yeah.
like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
So yeah, he's part of the Dads Club line group, and thanks to Alex on that one for bringing him into the fold.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I've been in that line group from when I first moved here, and we'll get into that later. But
Yeah.
I just never added or contributed anything to that group.
Okay. Yeah.
So the timing's impeccable, mate. You know,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, it's a good group. I think there's some lapses in communication sometimes, but you know, whatever. Dads are just out there doing their thing and
Absolutely.
contributing in any way they want. And yeah, you know, if you got a business, you want to promote it, you do that. And
Yeah.
like Alex, yeah, he's out there promoting his burgers every week, and you know, get some
Mate,
dads
tacos
coming.
Fukuoka,
Yeah,
get on board. And
that's right.
recently doing the burgers. I don't know if
Uh,
he showed you the burgers, mate.
I had a burger last week.
I'm like, mate, don't think about tacos. Pull
Yeah.
it like burgers
Burgers.
Fukuoka, because
Yeah.
mate, I'm salivating looking at these
Yep.
photos of the burgers. So I'm
Dude, they're awesome. They're really
put
good.
more meat in those burgers, mate. And yeah, market those out for sure.
Oh yeah, yeah. So yeah, that was kind of the background on you, Christian, and that's how I came across you. And I don't want to give away too many of your details. Maybe you want to get into that yourself, and being the Dad Club
Oh, mate,
Japan podcast.
keep it coming, mate. I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
You know, yeah, if you want to introduce yourself a little bit here, so
Yeah,
I
sure.
don't give away any details that you want to keep to yourself, you know,
Sure.
yeah. So feel free.
Guess yeah. So my name is Christian. That has already been shouted out. I'm a Australian, and I moved here to Fukuoka on April 1st last year. So it's coming up on my
Wow.
1 year
Yeah.
since I've taken on this feat moving to Japan. But Japan isn't unfamiliar to me.
Mm.
I've been coming to Japan for it's like a bit over 15 years actually.
Wow.
So it's my first time actually living in Japan. But
Mm.
prior to that, I'd be coming back to Japan like once or twice a year, and primarily like I travel all over Japan, but primarily based in Tokyo when I come back on those trips because I was doing a lot of fashion photo shoots, and that was kind of
Okay.
my background, kind of coming back here and checking out more of Japan, and just
Mm.
absolutely love Japan. You know, it's
Mm.
just something that just really resonates with me, and the whole country here. I've traveled all over the world, and not to glorify Japan as some people like to do, but it's
Mm.
it's just facts, hey, like Japan to me is home,
Yeah.
and I'm super fortunate to be in a position now to be able to be here in Japan and doing what I'm doing now, which is making
Right.
YouTube videos,
Yeah.
essentially promoting and educating people on Japan and my Japan experience
Mm.
since moving here. And I'm fortunate enough to be able to be building a guess like a curious community of like-minded Japan enthusiasts in the background. So I've just been, starting this, it's been a big feat, and it's been we'll probably get into that a bit more later, but it's been a very, very busy year.
Yeah, I can
Very
imagine.
busy year, man.
So, in the past year has also included marriage?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. That is part of the journey, and I'm
Yeah.
absolutely stoked. Like I'm incredibly fortunate to have met my wife,
Mm.
Kaori, here in Fukuoka. So I guess I can go a little bit into my journey on how I got here, actually,
Yeah.
because it does include her.
Yep.
So when the whole COVID situation kind of finished up, when they finally opened the borders here in Japan,
Mm.
I came over here for a 3-month trip. I took 3 months off work in Australia,
Mm.
and I came here with basically the vision on what my life would look like if I moved to Japan, and also looking for a place to possibly settle
Mm.
in Japan too. So, and the bigger part was what, I want to test this whole YouTube thing. So I was like, I'm just going to do 3 months of YouTube, one video a week,
Mm.
and just see how it plays out.
Yeah.
And a big, massive part of that too was facing my fears. And
Mm.
that was facing my fears of talking in front of the camera because I'd always been behind it.
Mm.
And, I'm someone at school that, I guess you may seem different when you watch my videos,
Well,
but
yeah.
mate, I'm not as confident in front of the camera as maybe I perceive,
Wow,
but it's
okay.
it was really me of facing my fears and doing something that is vastly
Mm.
different. And that's my whole challenge now in life, is to take things head on, and
Yeah.
anything is fearful in my life, I'm like, no, I want to approach it head on. So
Yeah.
basically I came here for 3 months, and 1 month of that whole 3 months I spent here in Fukuoka, and I'd never been here before.
Mm.
But mate, all I saw from a distance when I was researching Japan throughout that COVID period was,
Mm.
it's a big city. I want to live in a city. I love cities so much. I love city more than nature
Mm.
personally. But I love the beach. I'm
Mm.
Australian.
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
we beaches and barbecues champion. This is what we do, and this is what
Yeah.
we're good at.
Yeah.
So for me, it's where I feel comfort.
Sure.
At that time, last 10 years before moving here, I was living in Sydney. I'm originally from Brisbane,
Okay.
Brisbane proud.
Yeah.
But I was living in Sydney for the past 10 years before coming here.
Mm.
That's a very similar layout to Fukuoka,
Oh,
where
really?
it's got beachside city with nature attached an hour outside the city. So
Okay.
I wanted to find something quite similar. I didn't love Sydney, but
Mm.
I like the layout of Sydney. I like the beach close by. It would just be my local,
Yeah.
beach every weekend. And Fukuoka's got that, mate.
Yeah.
It's incredible balance
Mm.
of all of that, and I'm super fortunate to be here. So I came here for a month, and literally day one of arriving in Fukuoka,
Mm.
I met my soon-to-be wife.
Yeah.
We went out on a first date. Literally, I was editing a video, and then I
Mm.
jumped on one of those dating apps. I'm not ashamed of saying it.
Yeah.
And it's my first time ever downloading one of these apps, and
Mm.
legit, it was the first time. But downloading one of these apps, and literally the first person I linked up with, so it's kind of fate, was her. Started chatting that night. Met up like a couple of days later, I think it was.
Yeah.
Had a first date, and then I guess that eventually kind of led on to my situation, now, where
Mm.
I moved to Japan, which was to move to Japan. That was my whole journey. I wanted to move to Japan, and I was moving to Fukuoka was something that I thought was great, and obviously I met Kaori, and that just nailed that,
Yeah.
nail on the head kind of thing there. And
Mm.
it's all been uphill from
Yeah.
there, to be honest.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. It's
Yeah.
a very inspiring journey,
Yeah,
for
it's been great, man, and it's not just meeting Kaori. Like, I'm
Mm.
incredibly fortunate. She has an 11-year-old son, Ren,
Okay.
incredible boy, just like super
Mm.
talented, loves his baseball, and I
Mm.
know nothing about baseball, mate. I know nothing, but I'm slowly learning.
Yeah.
But I've taken that journey into fatherhood,
Wow.
and that's been just a very challenging but rewarding experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been a blast, but
Mm.
definitely challenging at points.
Mhm.
And it's still learning, man.
Sure.
Like, unfortunately, my wife speaks fluent English,
Mm. Yeah.
but my son that barely speaks English at all. So
Mm.
we have a constant game of charades, and at home every night I'm teaching him English and he's teaching me
Mm.
Japanese, and we have this really nice harmony, and that's where we've kind of found this balance in our relationship and our bonding, I
Yeah.
guess, together. So Loving it, mate. You know, but
Yeah,
just I'm liking the journey
for sure.
where everything's led so far. But a
Yeah.
freaking huge change in my life, mate.
Oh yeah.
Jesus
Well,
Christ,
yeah, of course.
it's a lot. It's a
Jumping right
lot.
into fatherhood there.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
the first question that jumps out to me is,
Sure.
did your son embrace you as his new father figure? I mean, was there some adjustment period for him, or how did
Yeah.
that work?
Like, listen, we're still embracing that, I'll be honest.
Hmm.
Again, because we can't, like, we bond in different ways than the traditional methods.
Mm,
So I can't really sit down to him and have a father and son heart to
sure.
heart,
Yeah.
just because my language isn't up to scratch.
Mm.
Japanese is it's very mid, I would
Mm.
say. But mate, we're getting there, champion, but I'm not giving up. But Yeah, it's we're slowly kind of getting there as well. But he's from the first moment that I met him actually was before we got married and everything, and before I moved here,
Mm.
and mate, he just came running up and gave me the biggest hug, and we've got a video to cement that in too of
Mm.
him meeting me for the first time, and it's I look back on that, mate, and it brings a tear to my eye because
Oh.
it's something that would eventuate into where at my situation today, where I'm a stepfather, and
Mm.
but at the same time, I really do recognize that he does have his own father as well,
Mm.
who was present. And I haven't met him myself, but I think it's really important for him to have that balance of both
Mm.
worlds. And I've been brought up in a very different culture to him too. So
Sure.
part of that is I want to share my culture with him and my understanding of what I guess understand what is parenthood,
Sure.
too. And I don't really understand what parenthood. I just learned from my incredible parents who,
Right.
they brought me up, I think, in a just I'm being super fortunate to have fantastic parents and
Mm.
have them as my mentors, looked up to as parents. They were
Yeah.
never bad parents; they were fantastic parents. So I
Mm.
take all my lead from them, I guess you would say.
Mm.
And So I think it's definitely adjustments. It's really just been him and his my son and his mum for a long time.
Mm.
So introducing a new figure into that situation,
Yeah.
but then on top, a figure that doesn't really have a background in fatherhood,
Mm.
is a big kid.
Mhm.
That's who I am.
Yeah, yeah.
Peter Pan all day, champion. But I think that's where we relate a lot to,
Sure.
because
Yeah,
I'm pretty playful and that's just me as a person
yeah.
in general. But we're both learning to adjust to each other, and
Mm.
especially in recent months, man, things have been phenomenal, and
Mhm.
we've just made some adjustments at home that have really cemented in some stuff that I think a lot of people should do to have
Yeah,
a
you
relationship.
mentioned one of the things that comes up a lot in these conversations is screen time. You know, that's something you mentioned before in a
Oh
previous
my god!
conversation. Can you touch on
Like,
that a little bit?
I'll touch on it all day. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah,
incredible, mate. So
yeah.
that again, I'm new to fatherhood, so I can't
Mm,
speak to other parents out there and that situation. But
mm,
the biggest change I've seen, I guess, my benefit actually coming into this is, I've come into a situation where I'm a new father in a situation of a kid that's already grown,
mm,
and he's got a mind and personality of his own. And there was one thing that when we first all kind of came together, living together, married and whatnot, the one thing I really noticed, which is really big in Japan, is everyone's on their phones and screen
mm.
time. And this does get talked about a lot, but
Yep.
I can't promote this enough. What we did
Mm,
do is I sat down with my wife one day, and it was just there was a lot of bad behavior kind of coming on between him and I,
mm.
and understandably, right? Like, I'm a new person in this situation where it's just him and his mom, and I feel like an
Sure.
intruder in a way.
Yeah.
Um, and I took it to myself to think, I was like, you know what, maybe it's not just me,
Mm,
but he's just nonstop on his
mm,
on his phone, his smartphone. He's 11 years old, mate.
mm.
He's got a smartphone. Like, to
Wow.
me, that's wild.
Yeah, 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 me too.
And my background, I worked for Apple for a long time, so I'd see
Okay.
all these kids on their phones all the time, and I'm
Yeah.
like, mate, this doesn't seem healthy.
No.
it doesn't.
No.
It does iPads and everything, and Sydney has some very very greedy kids. But yeah, so I was just brought it to her. I was like, you know what, maybe we try and just take technology away from it, and
Mm,
I don't mean just his phone, because the social media aspect, which is the biggest
sure.
problem by
Yeah,
far.
yeah.
I was like, let's just cold turkey him.
Mm,
Let's take away his Nintendo Switch.
mm,
We took him away from the television for
mm,
quite some time too. So, and the big one, we took the phone away,
mm,
and took every single thing away. And now it's been about 2 months, but I'm not kidding. But
mm,
after 1 week,
mm,
the difference I saw in this kid that would always give me a bit of smack and,
mm.
just talk back or just be really a bit smart to me most of the time. He just completely flipped and turned into an entirely different child, and the child that I thought he was before I
Mm,
knew him in this social media technology integrated childhood that he's just been living for a long time.
mm,
And now it's been 2 months on, and he's such an insightful boy that we sit down with him, have these conversations with him on the regular to reflect on
mm.
how are you feeling with that technology and things like that, and really
Yeah.
kind of treat him like an adult in
Mm,
a way, which I think is important, and
for sure.
put that responsibility on to him to recognize maybe the changes in himself
Right.
and really see that rather than us telling him.
Yep.
And man, he's super insightful. And he's like, you know what? He sat down with us the other night and he's like, I see the difference in myself now,
Mm.
and I understand how bad this can be for my mind.
Wow.
Pretty insightful, mate. This
Crazy.
kid's
Yeah.
this
For
kid's 11,
11.
right?
Yeah.
Insane, and saying things like, family. Like we've always, during that period too, we kind of sit down when there was a point there where he stole his phone back for a night, right?
Mm.
And we caught him with it. I better
Yeah.
jump in the gate of rehab a little bit, and then
Yeah.
and he, we kind of chatted to him about it,
Mm.
and he really kind of understood that, saw that difference in his mood changing just from that one experience with it.
Mm.
And it's just the change is phenomenal. Like my wife is super supportive of this change,
Mm.
as well, because at heart he's just an incredibly kind, sensitive boy,
Mm.
who is actually super caring and loving,
Mm.
and that's exactly who I saw him as until I saw him with the technology side. And
Right.
it's just the difference is I can't even fathom how large this difference is in his personality, but his happiness,
Yeah.
his general happiness, right?
Really?
So he's now focused on going out in the mornings at like 6 a.m. and swinging his bat for baseball training by
Awesome.
himself in the car park downstairs when
That's
we're
awesome.
still asleep maybe. And
Yeah.
he's just completely changed,
That's so
completely
so good
changed,
to
man.
hear.
And it's just I just can't promote it enough. If you do have children and
Yeah.
and you're finding that they're just attached to technology,
Yeah.
mate, just either cold turkey or limit them to it and
Yeah.
just notice the change.
Oh yeah.
It's wild.
You know, it, it's interesting. We do that occasionally as well, just kind of take it away. It's more of like a punishment, like he hasn't done his chores or something, or he's giving us attitude, and we'll take it away.
Yeah.
And it's incredible to see the switch flip like that. They'll go into like this the angel boy, like the sweetest
Yeah.
kid. But in the back of my mind, I know that he's being sweet to a certain degree
Get it
because
back.
he'll
Yeah.
get the screens back. So
Yeah.
that's always in my mind too. It's like, is he really going to be like this, or or is he
Yeah.
just doing this to like get his stuff back? And it's like,
Exactly. Well, similar age, right? So
yeah,
your
10,
kid's 10,
yeah,
mine's 11.
yeah,
The thing is, at this age, kids are a sponge,
mm,
and they just absorb everything. So they see what you're doing, they'll mimic it. They see what other kids are doing, they'll mimic it.
mm,
And if they see and look non-stop social media and this stupidity of, I'm a creator, but
mm,
I see other creators, and I hope them not contributing to it, but I see some really bad stuff that
yeah,
kids are obsessed with,
yeah,
and they start acting like them.
yeah,
They just absorb whatever they take in. So
yeah,
giving these kids access to social media at this age,
hmm.
mate, it should be banned until they're like at least at an age of maybe like even 16.
Didn't they do that in Australia recently?
They're trying to implement it, yeah. So I think they did pass the law
Yeah,
where I don't know how they're going to ban it. It's not in yet,
right.
but it's basically a law where they're not allowing kids from, I think, 16 to have
Mm,
access to social media.
mm.
And it's a
Great idea in theory.
mate, like it's like cocaine to kids.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It probably is. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not even exaggerating.
Yeah. Same
It's
level of sugar.
well, it's the same level of sugar, yeah, but
Yeah.
it's so dangerous. And I
Mhm.
think parents use it as a babysitter a lot of the time. And
Yeah.
I've seen this from not
Guilty.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's not just from my recent experience as a father, but I've
Mm,
worked at Apple for a long time, 13
mm.
years.
Yeah.
And I would see this non-stop, and I see the
Mm.
greed of children that don't know any better. So you
Yeah.
can't put it on the kids.
Yeah.
It's literally using a product as a babysitter so the parents can have some downtime. Where it's like,
Yeah.
you know what, the importance of your bonding with a kid at a young age, I imagine, at least, and just this is my upbringing,
Mhm.
it's just so vital and it's important. It's like, mate,
Yep.
go out and play in the park, go play baseball. Like my son now is so focused on baseball, where
Mm,
before he had this dream of becoming a professional baseball player,
mm,
but he'd just be stuck on his phone. As soon as he got home from school, 3 p.m. he's home,
mm.
and he's on his phone until 10 p.m. at night. And it
Wow,
mate, he'd be chopping up an onion with a phone in his hand.
that's crazy.
You know what I mean? And I'm like,
Yeah,
and it's not his fault. It's
sure.
just it's toxic, and
Yeah.
kids aren't aware of what it's doing to their minds.
Yeah, and kids don't have that awareness of self to limit themselves,
They
like
don't.
adults,
Yeah, yeah.
like
Even adults don't.
yeah, I know, right?
You know what I
I'm
mean?
like on my phone for like 20 minutes. Oh, okay, I really shouldn't be doing this right now. I got to put this
100%.
down,
And
but
as
kids don't
well,
have that.
exactly. And I think it's up to the parents too,
Mm.
to, kids then, if they don't have that around, they then look up to the next nearest thing, and that's their parents.
Yep,
And all kids look up to their parents if you're fortunate enough to have good parents.
yep.
So we, as well as parents at home, we limit our time on our
Mm,
phones,
mm.
and especially if he's around,
Yeah,
we really focus on family time away from technology.
yeah.
Now we've integrated like TV back in our life, just general TV, no games, but
Mm.
just like news and the reaction TV of Japan,
Yeah.
which is just comedians as
Yeah.
presenters everywhere, and I love it. But it's the change is incredible.
Mm,
Like he's coming in, more hugs and loving and caring, kind words, and
mm.
the flip has been so gnarly, like so fast,
Wow.
so fast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I wonder if there's any like practical tips you could give for to how to implement a system like that. Because I've tried in the past, and
Yeah,
I find myself giving in too quickly
mate.
because
I don't know. Like again, I'm new to this, so
mm,
we've got seasoned fathers and mothers all over.
mm,
But my advice is just make Nike, just do it, champion.
yeah,
Like just absolutely cold turkey,
mm,
and don't give in, because
yeah,
in the end, it's like the way I see it, at least, is you're the father,
mm,
you're the mother, or you're the parent.
yeah,
It's like it's up to your responsibility to guide your children through these, you know, defining years of their life.
mm,
And if you're not doing that appropriately, you're not going to be perfect,
mm,
right? By far, man. There's so much I need to get, so much I need to get better at.
mm,
But just this one step alone
mm,
is like technology is so new to our world. Social media, rather, is so new to our world that
mm,
we don't understand the ramifications of its future
yeah,
in our children's minds.
yeah,
And it's particularly in Japan, at least, the mindset of children, the number one career kids want to have is they want to be a YouTuber,
YouTuber,
right?
yeah,
So they automatically look up to these social media,
yeah,
people that are on the television sets. Like, mate, I'm just a bloke making videos in my room, but they
yeah,
see it as like, no, you're on the television screen, so
right,
blah blah blah. Like
yeah,
it's
yeah,
and if that person on the other end of that screen is acting like a fool or
mm,
giving incorrect advice or
mm,
giving them a mindset
mm,
that is forming them as a human being,
mm.
it's like there's a simple way just to cut off making them into that person, and that's just by severing that cord of technology and social media particularly.
Yeah, yeah. I guess I'm fortunate my kid is not into social media yet. He's just
It's
into
good.
playing Switch, He's like
Oh, that's cool. I
Splatoon.
I honestly don't like. I don't have a problem with games.
Mm,
Realistically,
okay.
I think they're great for motor skills.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
there's a lot of studies done that a lot of surgeons should play video games because
Yeah.
it helps with their motor skill. Like
Yep.
real interesting,
Yeah.
research data based around that, which is
Yeah.
quite cool. So I don't really have an issue with it. But
Mm,
the thing is the overuse of technology or whatever it is,
mm,
having that balance,
yep.
but then also what they're consuming as well. But
Yeah.
we went cold turkey just to full on
Mm.
flush it out of his system, and it's taken at least maybe, like, we're still going through it, but it's been probably like 2 months now.
So when you say social media, was he like on Instagram, Facebook,
Uh
that kind of like
TikTok and
TikTok?
YouTube
T-
Shorts.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and the big problem with that too is that that's short form media.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what I make is long form videos and whatnot,
Yeah.
but short form media, and some of it can be really great content. But the problem with that, and
Mm,
particularly around apps where it's just doom scrolling,
yeah.
is that it limits your attention span.
Yep.
So your attention span essentially starts getting to a point where you're limited to about a minute, and you
Mm,
can't focus after a minute.
yeah.
So you'd be watching something or reading something, and then you're like, oh, I'm going to do something else, because you're just doom scrolling, and it's teaching your mind
Mm.
how to limit your mind.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the algorithm is engineered too to get that quick dopamine
Oh
fix,
my
and
God,
it
yeah, it's
gets you
cheap.
brings you up, and then boom, switches you to something else, and
Does,
yeah,
mate.
it's
It does.
wild.
And you'll have hours go by.
Yeah,
Hours go by, and you're like, wait, where did those hours go?
yeah,
And it's like those hours could be spent out there practicing your baseball swings, mate,
yeah,
hanging out with friends.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
friendships now are like,
yeah,
text messages,
yeah,
and like if you're
yeah,
lucky, FaceTime, which is
yeah.
not, it's not physical. Like you need to have that social aspect to your life. It's
Mm,
so important, and
yep,
it's a big worry for society for the future. And
absolutely.
it's gonna be interesting to see how the world evolves with this, to be honest. But
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
it's quite
man.
interesting. But that's just my mindset anyway.
Yeah,
Hell,
no,
I could be completely wrong. But
no,
give them
it's
all the tech, mate. Give it all. Give in,
yeah.
mate. Give in.
Yeah, I mean, that's a conversation we could continue on
Oh
for
my God,
hours,
I'm
I'm
telling
sure.
you. Absolutely, mate.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But give it a go. You might be surprised.
Yeah, yeah. Something you mentioned today, we talked about earlier was kind of doing a rapid fire lightning round of some
Oh, yeah.
questions.
You got
Yeah,
some
yeah.
questions for me, champion.
Are you,
Oh,
you interested? You want to
yeah.
do that? Yeah.
I'll give it a go. But
Yeah.
I'm not really good on the fly.
Well, me neither, me neither. Did you have some questions for me, or is it just all me on you?
Let's share back and forth,
Yeah,
and then
okay.
maybe we can answer a bit of both.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe it'll take us to places we've never been
Oh,
before.
mate, let's get deep. Let's get deep.
All right. Well, as always, Chat
Yeah.
GPT.
Oh, mate,
I did think of some questions
you're
on my
absolutely
own.
silly if you're not using that these days.
Well, yeah,
It's having your
exactly.
best friend in your pocket. Technology, right? Social media. I love it.
Well, yeah,
Way to flex back.
well, now it's only a matter of years or less before AGI comes into play, right? So I read in an article recently.
Scared and
So,
excited, mate. Scared and
yeah.
excited.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen, but all right. Well, let me fire some off at you here.
Okay.
Um, so, uh, how has living in Japan changed your approach to content creation?
Ooh. How has living in Japan changed
Your
my approach to
approach.
content creation? So I guess like previous to Japan,
Mm,
I would be my focus was photography. So I'm
mm.
now doing videography,
Okay,
is my focus. So I guess it is quite new
sure.
to me now, my content creation. But my biggest inspiration when I was doing photography was when I was coming to Japan.
Mm,
So there is a point there where the polish of Japan and being in Japan does wear off when you are living here.
mm,
It's still definitely present with me to this day.
yep.
You know, it's the Japan is so vastly different aesthetically
Mm,
from Australia
sure.
in
Yeah.
every way and form.
Yeah.
So that's where I draw inspiration, where things are different,
Okay.
and I try and be as different as possible to, whether it's a fashion or a look or a photo shoot or whatever it may be. I just like that contrast of being
Mm,
vastly different. A foreigner in an Asian country, I love that contrast.
sure. Yeah.
But I draw inspiration from that myself too. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I think my eyes are a lot more open,
Mm.
and it's teaching me to go faster and slower at the same time. It's a weird thing. It's strange, man. Like,
Yeah.
there's too much I want to do, and I've got to focus on what's important and what's going to work
Sure.
as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if that just answered
Yeah, no,
anything or
that's
nothing
fine.
at all.
Yeah. Yeah, you could say anything and it would
Yeah,
answer the
pretty much.
question.
I like tables. Is that good answer? Cool.
What's a piece of content you're really proud of?
Piece of content. That's an easy one for me, mate.
Mm,
So when I was speaking before, and when I came to Fukuoka for the first time, I met my wife for the first time.
mhm,
So our first date, we went to Sushiro
mm,
restaurant, and we were chatting. And then at that time, I was making one video per week, and I was looking for more content to make. And I really wanted to make content with Japanese people at some point,
mm,
and because their English is fantastic, I was like, hey, you want to make a video together?
mhm,
And what's really interesting, we end up making a video together, I think that weekend or the following week, which is on my channel. It's called Day in the Life with a Stranger.
Okay.
Interesting name too.
Yeah.
But that video was
Mm.
our second date.
Oh, wow.
Now, what's interesting is that video really changed my life,
Mm,
and I've got that bit of history.
Mm.
Our second date is history that's documented online, edited freaking epically. Like, I'm really proud of that video as a
Yeah,
whole, and it's part of my history, but it's not just part of my history, it's part of our history, and
sure.
to where I am today.
Yeah.
From that one video, literally was the starting point of the change in my life, moving to Japan and
Wow.
doing everything I'm doing now, fatherhood, videos,
Mm.
family life, just everything. So that
Crazy.
one's an easy
Sweet.
sell for me.
Awesome. All right. Is your wife is okay with being in the spotlight like that, or she doesn't mind being in your videos?
Recently.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
recently.
finally talked her into
Oh, okay. All
it.
right.
So we did do a video, my first video of 2025,
Mm.
that came out. I introduced and I did a short interview with her and got her
Okay.
on board. So that was since that last our second date video that we did
Yep.
a couple of years ago, that to the first video of 2025 that I did, where I introduced her, because I
Mm.
never mentioned that that person previous was my wife.
Okay. All right.
And because I had a lot of people in my community kind of ask me and
Mm.
stuff, and I was like, oh, you know what, she doesn't want to be, in the spotlight. Completely fair.
Yep. Sure.
And yeah, so the first video of this year, I introduced the videos, and it just, you know, fell really well with my community
Mm.
online, and everyone absolutely loved her, and she's just an absolute sweetheart, real people person. So
Awesome.
yeah, I'm fortunate just to have her in my life, man. Like, she's a gem, mate. She's a bloody gem.
Sweet. Good to hear. Good to
Yeah.
hear. All right. Let me see. Let me find a challenging one for you
Oh,
here. We'll do a couple more
yeah.
because we're getting
Getting that
into
time.
the yeah.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find something a
I,
little
I
more.
ramble on. That's why time sinks by, doesn't it?
Oh, okay. I'll give two more. I'll save this one for the last one. But
Okay.
how about what's a habit or a mindset that helped you the most in life?
Habits or a mindset? A habit, actually,
Mm.
my number one habit is my wake up routine.
Mm. Okay.
So generally, up until recently, I need to change it a bit, but I got a bit sick recently. But I'd wake up at 5 a.m. every day,
Mm.
and I go out for a morning walk for about 2 to 3 hours.
Nice.
And that is my just startup juice. So
Yep.
I literally go out for my walk, I grab a coffee at the convenience store, I pop in a podcast, usually something educational,
Mm-hmm.
and I just, I learn.
Yep.
I learn and get a, like, if walking is exercise, I don't really count it as it, but
Really?
yeah, no, not really. I like
Supposed to be like
I like to work
theoretically.
hard, champion. Yeah, but it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
One of the
But
best forms of exercise.
yeah, well, it does. It's great for mental exercise for
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I like to stretch my mental and physical
Yeah.
as one.
Yeah.
And yeah, going out for a walk, man. And for me, I get
Mm.
inspired by the Japan aesthetic.
Sure.
So I get
Yeah.
my ideas. So I'm listening to podcasts.
Mm.
I'm learning something. I'm out walking, stretching the legs, stretching the body, getting my
Mm.
mind right, having a coffee, nice. And then I'm writing ideas in my phone for potential, YouTube videos, or just gaining insights, live reflection,
Sure.
and whatnot too. And I love
You
it.
tap as you go, or do you use a voice memo or something? This is
Bit of,
something I'm curious about too, because
yeah,
I'm walking around in the mornings too. I have a similar habit, and
yeah.
yeah, it's like you come up with great ideas, but I don't want to stop and like tap it in.
Yeah, or nowadays, so I use notes on my phone.
Mm.
But if it's a quick note, I'm like, yeah, quick, bang it out. But if something
Yep.
like it's a thought, it's a process, or it's an idea, quite a long one,
Yep.
then I'll still go into notes and I'll just use voice memo, and I have
Mhm.
AirPods in,
Yep.
and I just shout it out as I'm walking along, chatting to myself like an
Yeah.
odd bloke at 5 a.m. in the morning. But not many people around to witness, so maybe
No,
that's
no.
okay.
Well, be careful. I might run into you.
Yeah, you might, mate. You might think I'm saying hi to you, but I'm saying hi to myself.
All right. So walking in the morning, that's a good habit. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm right on board with that one. Yeah. All right. Let me give you one more here. What's a goal or project you're excited about right now?
Hmm. Uh, so I have a goal for, like, I guess it's not a goal that I'll be reaching anytime soon.
Okay.
But I would love to eventually start a cafe here in Fukuoka.
Wow.
One main thing I've really found that starting a YouTube channel is my passion for starting community, and I
Mm.
really love community. And YouTube, realistically, it is a business.
Yep.
But the thing that I probably love the most is building the community behind it. Because
Mm.
when I first moved here, I didn't know anyone in the city.
Yep.
So my friends were digital people that I was making online through watching my videos, and they become these digital friends. But it's, and I'm super fortunate that the community that I've been building have
Mm.
been so incredibly positive, reaffirming to what I'm doing, and just, again, they're just curious Japan enthusiasts themselves. So
Mm.
A cafe is exactly the same way as doing that, but in a physical format.
Yep.
And I love coffee.
Mm.
My mate just recently opened up a coffee shop here called the Mocha Lab,
Oh,
and
he was
so
in one of your videos, yeah?
yeah,
Yeah.
Nadir. So really great cafe that he's set up, and that
Mm.
inspired me even more. So I
Okay.
saw him set it up, and
Yeah.
he put a lot into this place. Is beautiful,
Yeah.
really nice, really cool experience he's doing there. But seeing that, I was like, I can't do it this big, but I'd
Mm.
love to have just a small coffee shop, one to better my Japanese too, but
Hmm.
build community. And I think that's something that Japanese people are very respectful, and their
Mm.
social etiquette is incredible, right?
Yeah.
But there is a barrier to it where
Mm.
there's a level to it where they don't pass, where it's kind of getting to know your people as much. It's very
Sure.
transactional here,
Yeah.
I guess you could say, the coffee
Yeah.
experience or cafe experience.
Yeah.
And they're always really friendly, it's not that, but that getting to know you further, and
Mm.
oh, what's going on, Joe? How you doing, mate? The barista life that you would
Yeah.
see in our countries,
Yeah.
maybe. It's something that's missing here, personally, I think.
Hmm.
And it's not a disrespectful way of going about it.
Mm.
It's just not missing here because they're very much more of a reserved people here.
Sure. Yeah.
But I love that, and I love that way of maybe having that harmony between our Western culture and the Japanese culture, and finding that nice mix between the two, and
Hmm.
having a cafe that really inspires and showcases that, and building a nice community around that. Like, I'd love to have locals passing by, like, "Hey, champion, what's going on?" They kind of
Yeah.
come up to you and practice some English, like,
Yeah.
"Hello, legend." I'm like, hell yeah, dude, you're a champion. I love that.
Well, yeah, I mean, the idea
Oh,
of
wouldn't that be
building.
sick? That'd
Yeah,
be
I mean,
cool,
right?
right?
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I'm pretty excited by that, but that's a
Yeah,
longer term goal, one of the
long
bigger
term.
ones.
Yep. Yep.
And yeah, we'll see what happens,
Mm.
in the long term. But yeah, I just think that'd be really quite a fun, fun experience.
Oh, totally achievable.
Yeah,
If anywhere, this is the place to do it in Fukuoka.
yeah,
You know,
absolutely,
you
absolutely.
it'd be kind of a unique sort of a niche kind of cafe. Like an
Yeah,
English speaking owner.
100%. Yeah,
I think
exactly.
it'd
That
do
is
really
just
well.
broken as hell Japanese, and
Yeah. Well,
but
no, the idea of building community, it's great. And that's kind of what we try to do here with the
of
podcast,
course,
We
yeah,
through this community, I've met you,
yeah, 100%. Yeah,
and a lot of other dudes, like our last guest Dan, we met him through this community. And yeah, I mean, a lot of super cool dads out there and guys just doing their stuff. And
particularly in Fukuoka.
yeah, and it's sometimes it's hard to find a new community when you move into someplace new and try
Yeah,
to it's there's some hurdles you gotta jump over. And if we can help through that, or podcasts or videos,
yeah,
it's anything you can do to bring people together and who
exactly.
have kind of shared similar experiences, why not,
It's just
just go
life,
for
isn't
it.
it? Right?
Yeah,
Like, it's
yeah,
bringing people together.
yep,
Like, bring that social harmony, and as long as you're doing it in a positive light,
yep,
which is all I trying to do. I think I'm a pretty positive person, and
for sure,
I'd love to be able to spread that positivity more, and
yep.
in such a what is becoming a slightly negative world in a lot of
Mm,
ways. And if there's little things you can do to be more positive in life, I think it's almost your duty to
yeah,
kind of do that.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
it probably costs some money, but we'll see. But I do have a question for you, just before we
Okay, all
pass
right,
on. Is
sure.
you've been here quite some time now.
Mm.
How long you been in Japan now?
Japan altogether, 5 and 3, 18 years altogether.
Jeez, that's a
Yeah,
long time.
yeah,
How
yeah,
would you say, if you can remember back that long? Because I
yeah.
can't. But that's probably when I started my Japan journey. Was
Mm,
18, 17 years ago. Kind of come back here. But
mm,
um, how has your mindset shifted or changed?
mm.
Since kind of living in Japan compared to what you had in your previous country.
Wow. Well, I
Has
mean,
it, or has it changed for the
yeah, it
better?
definitely
Yeah,
has. I mean,
I'd imagine so.
yeah, yeah. It's, when I was living in Canada, I was, going to university and doing my master's and just living the single bachelor life, and
Mm,
which is fine. But I didn't have a lot of direction other than just like, go through this 4 years of school and then another 2 years. And that was kind of my direction. And it didn't really amount to much, and that's fine. It was what it was. But when I moved here to Fukuoka specifically in 2012, it's moved in with my wife, and we started living together, and we were living together a little bit in Canada for a couple of years. But yeah, we really started to focus in on building a family, and It once that first kid came along, it's like the whole focus just switched to, okay, we're raising kids now. It used
Yeah,
to be
shift.
single people just flying around, going here and there, and having fun on our trips. But yeah, now it's we're raising a couple boys and
Yeah,
trying to make it into respectable human beings, and that's been honestly the biggest shift.
yeah,
And especially in Japan too. When I was younger, in my early 20s. I was doing a working holiday visa and a student visa, and then I did a work visa in three different places. And it was just, I don't know. I don't want to say a typical like Western guy in Japan, but
oh, nice, mate.
when you're young and you got
Yeah,
lots of energy,
yeah, 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 yeah.
it's
But you move around.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
You,
yeah.
you
So
you
yeah,
put your energy into different
yeah,
places. So
of course, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, so that's been one of the biggest adjustments for sure is being married and creating a healthy family life.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
And as far as your family and life, here, which you fully understand,
Hmm.
now that you've adjusted, you've had the kids for a while now. Would you see, would you rather raise your kids here or in Canada?
Hmm. I think I would rather raise them here.
Yeah. Why is
Um,
that?
I grew up in Canada, and there's a lot of good things about Canada,
Mm,
but the society's changed in the past decade or so, and I've still have really good friends back in Canada who are raising kids, and I see, I hear a lot of the issues that they deal with, and are kind of a completely set of different issues from here.
yeah.
And one of the things I hear about a lot is a lack of respect,
Mm,
and too much attitude, and kids have more opportunity in Canada to get into troublesome habits.
yeah, true.
As a kid, I can speak from my own experience. I was not a well-behaved teenager,
Don't give away too much,
No,
champion. You are on
no.
film.
Yeah, yeah. So let's just say there's some things you can get into in Canada that you
Yeah.
cannot get into here as a child, and I think there's just more of a structured boundaries of roles that you're supposed to play in society as kids, and there's a lot more tradition around respect
Mm,
and relationships and proper ways of addressing people that you just don't have in Western countries, I want to say.
yeah.
And so just that built-in ethics of social responsibility and respect, you can't beat
Social
it,
responsibility. That's
right?
huge here.
Right?
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I'll be honest, it's not perfect here.
Hmm.
And nowhere is.
Yep.
Um, and I'd imagine you're probably maybe like a harmony between Canada and Japan in a way
Hmm.
would be kind of nice. Like
Yep.
I like the balance of both. I don't like one or the other specifically 100%.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, they tend to hold this cultural and social, you know, society like the ways and means that they do things here.
Mm.
It's just passed on from generation to generation. It's
Right?
like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
I'm still blown away by that, to be honest. Like
Yeah, well, I mean, it
the
helps to
etiquette's
have such
crazy.
a long history of,
It's incredible.
that culture. I mean, Canada is like, a couple hundred years of history. It's
Likewise, to Australia.
drop in the bucket compared to,
Yeah,
these kind of cultures in Asia.
absolutely.
So, yeah.
You think it's like, but how the hell can it's longer? It's
Yeah.
like we're struggling to do what we did last year. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
like how did they? Yeah, I don't know. I've got so many questions around that when it comes to here, but yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. Well, thanks for those questions. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
welcome,
And
mate.
I'd love
Welcome.
to have
Thank you for
you
yours.
back on again anytime and dig into your brain a little bit more about this,
For
that, and the other
sure,
thing.
mate.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
we can chat for days. Maybe next time we'll do it over a bevy and we'll do the proper
yes.
Australian way, champion.
Yeah. For sure. For sure.
Alright, mate. I
Yeah.
appreciate it, brother.
Cheers. Yeah. Thanks for joining us. And is there anything you want to plug while you're here?
I
How
guess the
can
main thing is to plug my channel, but
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Yeah.
but if you are interested in educational promotional stuff about Japan, want to learn more about you know Japan as a whole, just see life through my experience, kind of living here as you know a new person arriving in Japan, and as a new father as well. It's all news to me. Feel free to jump and follow my or drop a comment on any one of my videos. Hangs with Christian is my channel name. And I reply to everyone. So
Sweet.
champions,
Legends.
Jamata, and I'll see you on the next one.
Awesome. Thanks again,
All
buddy.
right, thank
Appreciate
you,
it.
sir. Appreciate it.
Ciao.
Appreciate it.